So this is my final project on Singapore. So if you're watching the PowerPoint, I'm going along with it so you can follow me. So first is nonverbal communication in Singapore. So in Singapore, it's mostly Chinese people who live there. So it's kind of like the same kind of nonverbal communication that they have in China. It's having face really like it means a lot to them, like facial expressions. So they're really like sensitive into like retaining face in all aspects of their life. Face is like prized like a commodity, so it can be given, lost, taken away, or earned. So with the silence is really important in their communication as well. Also, younger people who have taken like the Western concept of shaking hands, but it's not really the case with like the older reserved people. So men and women, like they do shake hands, but like the woman must extend her hand first. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So next is gender roles, and there was a pretty big piece about like how the gender roles have changed in the past few years in Singapore. So I found this little study thing that said that women have been given opportunity to go to school and have an education in Singapore. It used to be an action that was looked down upon, but the recent changes in their cultural equalities have made it acceptable. The amount of women who graduate from universities in Singapore is higher than the amount of men who do. Women are now looked as equally as successful as men and have increased their numbers in male-dominated jobs such as science, research, firefighting, and architecture. So I thought that was interesting. So like gender roles are pretty like equivalent nowadays there. Next I have, are they more of like a collective society or an individual? So what I found, it's more collective than it is individual. So there's this thing that said that they look over each other in exchange for loyalty. Also, I have a little piece here that says Singapore is a collective society with low individualism. People in the collective culture have a high interdependence with others, and they are interpersonal sensitivity. The Harmony Day is celebrated once a year. And the low conflict between the ethnic groups that shows Singapore is indeed a collective society. I thought that was interesting, like they have a day to celebrate that. Next I have the religious groups. So the major religion in Singapore is Buddhism at 32%. The second is Christianity at 18.7%, and then there's a nun category at 18.5%, other at 14%, and Islam at 15.6%. And then customs. Customs in Singapore is defined by the ethnic groups in the city-state. So there's Chinese, Malay, I believe that's how it's said. Indian and Western influences are all there, making a mix of traditions and local customs. It's kind of like the melting pot, like how we have here in the US. This is a diversity of culture in Singapore. It's also reflected in many languages spoken there, including English, Mandarin, Malay, and Tamil. And then I also have this little piece of the religious practices there, since there is like a lot of religions there. So I thought it was interesting how if you do go there, like you need to take precaution and how you're gonna like hold yourself. So this is pretty interesting to me. It says to like take off your shoes before you enter a temple. You have to like wash your hands and feet before entering a Hindu temple. I had no idea about that. Women are expected to cover their hair, parts of their body before entering. A religious building is no place for a picnic, so like you can't eat or drink there. But if you do bring food or flowers to like a Hindu or Buddhist temples, an offering to like for the gods. So interesting stuff. The most interesting thing to me on my last slide is that Singapore actually is consistent of like 16 islands, which I thought was really cool, like to be able to see every single one of them. And then also Singapore is known as one of the 4 Asian tigers. So because they're so prosperous there, they're one of the 4 Asian tigers, which consist of Hong Kong, Taiwan, South Korea, and Singapore. So yeah, that is my project. Thanks for watching.